WKRO 217, your news for nowhere.
Good evening, friends. This is Silas Caudwell, your charming comrade, here to keep you company in our creepy town of nowhere. On tonight's show, we'll meet a young man who learned the hard way that there's nothing more dangerous than a wounded animal. But first, let's start out with a few announcements. For the weather bulletin, expect a low mist crawling in from the east. Folks in Jerry Hills say that the mist was humming during the day due to the heat. If you hear it tonight, don't hum back. That's how it learns your pitch. Temperatures dip back into the 40s around midnight. If you notice frost accumulating on your windows, don't read the messages left behind. It should melt off by dawn. If you do happen to read it, please remain indoors for 24 hours minimum, or the quarantine squad may be deployed. The Reduce, Reuse, Recycle initiative is looking for volunteers this weekend. Bring gloves, sturdy bags, and civic pride. Remember, paper in blue, plastics in green, and nuclear waste in the bright yellow drums. Please don't mix them up again. Last month's incident took 3 days to clean up, and the fire department's still glowing because of it. Remember, listeners, subscribe to the broadcast. That way, you'll never miss a night. Believe me, the nights here are not to be missed. And don't forget to turn on that bell. It'll wake you when the dark does. Let's move along to tonight's main caller. This one's been in our queue for a while. A man with a cause, a rescuer of all things feathered, furry, and crawling. Only this time, what he brought home wasn't a stray cat or wounded hound. No, it was something far stranger. WKRO! Let's welcome our guest and have them introduce themselves.
Thanks, Silas. My name's Sam.
And?
I'm calling in about an experience I had with something otherworldly.
You called the right place, son. But I gotta say, you are being awful vague. Tell us, what you do for work?
I'm an animal activist.
That pays?
Well, my day job at the grocery store pays.
I was about to say that's the weirdest thing I've heard on the show. And I've heard a lot of weird stuff.
Technically, it does pay in karma. I believe...
I'm sure it does. How about you talk a bit about the job?
Well, I primarily work with a nonprofit on the outskirts of nowhere. We deal with a lot of injured or sick wildlife.
Noble work. Though I notice folks rarely call me with stories about squirrels and raccoons.
No, this wasn't a squirrel or a raccoon. I was hiking the edge of Willow Glen, same trail I always take, when I saw, well, at first I thought it was just a big bird tangled in some fence wire, maybe a black crow or raven. It must have been struggling there for a while because its feathers were missing and its wings were torn and bleeding. But the closer I got, the more features came into focus. The entire thing didn't have feathers. It was a black leathery texture and was making this awful pained squeaking noise. I assumed it must have been a bat, one I was unfamiliar with and therefore one that was most likely endangered.
Are you not afraid of rabies?
Not when an animal's life is at stake.
Are we not all animals?
I crouched down beside it and took a closer look. Its chest heaved and heart raced as it felt my presence. It frantically tried to escape again, only to cause more damage to itself. Finally, it craned its head and locked eyes with me. The eyes were too large for its face. When it looked at me, it didn't look scared. It looked like it was thinking and sizing me up.
And what was the bat's conclusion?
Something about the way it studied me. It was calming. It stopped thrashing about. I took off my jacket and draped it over the wing to keep it from tearing itself apart. The barbs had sunken deep. I used my pocket knife to cut the wire, really slow and careful. When I finally pulled the last barb free, it didn't bolt, didn't fly away. Maybe it couldn't. It stayed there on the ground and curled its wings close to its body, just staring up at me. Like it was waiting for what came next, and I couldn't stop staring back. I was transfixed by it. Saving it wasn't a choice anymore. It felt like an order. I knew I had to bring it home with me.
Why not bring it into a proper rescue?
I don't know. Something inside me just said home. It was suffering and I wasn't going to leave it there.
So, how did you get it there?
I slipped my arms under it and really carefully I carried it to my car in my jacket. Thought it would feel light, like a bird. But it was way heavier than that. It was like carrying a sack of wet sand. It was warm. Heat just rolled off its body. The second I wrapped it in my jacket, it curled into me and I swear I felt its heartbeat sync up with mine.
That doesn't sound like the usual bat-to-man relationship.
No, you're right. Every step back down the trail, I felt those eyes on me, even with its head tucked against my chest, like it was watching me through the fabric.
And through all this, you still thought it was a bat.
Part of me wanted to, desperately. Because if it was just a bat, then I knew what to do. I could catalog it, nurse it, write it down as endangered, that simple. But deep down, I knew better. Its body wasn't right. Animals thrash and panic and bite when they're trapped, and this one just studied me. Calling it a bat just gave me something to hold on to, a label I felt comfortable with.
How long did it take you to get back to the car with this thing?
I don't remember the hike back, and I barely remember the drive. Just flashes of my usual highway signs in neighborhood streets. Soon enough, I was pulling into my driveway, entering my home, walking down the steps into my basement.
Basement? Sounds a bit cliche to me.
It's where I rehab all my animals, plus it kept my nosy neighbors from calling animal control on me. They're still pissed at me after the coyote incident.
Your decision-making process is starting to make a lot more sense. Because none of it makes sense, son.
It's a calling, Silas.
What was the first night like?
I laid it out on this old quilt and checked its wounds. It was real torn up across its wings, and it still was bleeding. The blood was almost like a caramel consistency. I wrapped it and cleaned what I could.
Most folks would have called a sanctuary by now.
No, I couldn't. He was mine to protect. I felt like if I let anyone else near it, then they would have killed it out of fear.
He?
Yeah. I just knew it was a he.
Alright, so you were convinced someone else would have killed it, but you wouldn't.
I couldn't. Wouldn't even think of such a thing.
How did the rest of the night go?
I stayed in the basement all night. I made sure to give it water through an eyedropper. I tried to feed it fruit, but all it seemed to want was raw meat.
Raw meat?
Like beef, yeah.
So if you stayed down in the basement with it all night, when did you sleep?
I slept the next day and from that point kept to a schedule.
And just to be clear, you slept during the days and took care of it at night. In the basement.
Yeah, I could tell it was nocturnal, so it only made sense.
Right, so how long did you do this for?
A few days, maybe a week or two. The healing was fast though. The wound on the wings started closing within hours, but a second night the skin had pulled back together, smooth like nothing had happened. In all honesty, I didn't care how long it took. I'd just go down with food, raw meat, scratched from the grocery store sale section. Its appetite grew by the hour, and I was glad to see that. I could tell he was recuperating fast. By the end of day 4, though, I started noticing changes in myself. My vision blurred, and then sharpened. Sharper than it has ever been. Sounds were louder, smells were more vivid.
Did any of this feel normal, Sam?
I chalked it up to my new sleep schedule.
Of course you did.
Made sense to me.
So you're feeling weird, and this thing is healing.
But it needed more food before I could let it go.
Okay.
And I had hit a snag.
A snag?
I eventually ran out of meat and felt like I couldn't go pick up more. I felt tethered to him. I started to panic because the creature hadn't eaten in 2 days and was getting weaker.
So, what did you do?
I offered what I had left. I cut my palm, shallow but enough to make it stir. Its nostrils flared up, and its mouth started to open, wide. So wide, almost unhinged. I held out my hand. It didn't lunge or snap, it leaned forward, slow. And then it drank. I thought it would hurt, but it didn't. It felt warm. My veins lit up like fire, but not painful. It was euphoric. It was like part of me had been waiting for this. Every drop it took, I felt something happen. Not exactly a bond, but more like a trade. I became dizzy, woozy, and soon I fell asleep.
While that thing still drank from you.
Yes. When I woke up, I wasn't sitting on the basement floor anymore. I was on a blanket, inside of an old kennel cage I used for large rescues, and the door was locked.
And the creature?
Standing outside it, healed, and it stretched its wings wide and perfect, and stood tall, taller than me now, its head tilted and studied me through the bars. I don't know why I didn't scream or try to break out. Then it leaned down, got eye level with me, and I swear I heard it, not with my ears, but in my head. It said, "Now you are safe."
How long were you in the cage for?
I don't know. I was scared at first, but then this sense of peace and tranquility took me over, like a beautiful wave.
Did you willingly stay?
Of course, it was my home.
Now you're making less sense than you usually do, Sam.
People don't escape their homes, Silas. They nestle in. It's where they're most protected.
Sam, it says here that you're calling from the Nowhere meatpacking plant, which I suppose is on brand for you. But tell me this, how did you get to use the phone there?
I'm not using a phone.
What?
I'm using the right frequency.
Frequency? Jesus, kid.
I can protect you too, Silas. All the viewers, the listeners. Just let me.
Producers, cut his line, now. That's a code 850, I repeat, code 850.
The blood opens the door.
The eyes find the dark, the wings.
Listeners, it seems our guest has just been relocated. If you, like our troubled friend Sam, saw a creature in need out in the wild, would you take it home before knowing what it was? Leave us a comment below and let us know. Well, some good news, friends. Our abrupt ending to our chat with Sam has allowed us to take a few extra minutes for calls. But first, let's hear a word from tonight's sponsor.
Brought to you by Bright Future Realty Group, turning haunted houses into happy homes since 1974.
Looking for the perfect family home in beautiful Nowhere? Then look no further than 6345 Wren Road. That's right, the porch lights shining once again on this charming 3-bedroom Victorian, complete with wraparound porch, original hardwood floors, and all the character you can handle. Best of all, the price has just been slashed. That's right, down, down, down to a number you can't afford not to consider. So come on down for our open house this Saturday. The only thing to fear is a missing sale.
Disclosure. House has been previously occupied by unidentified parties. Reports of whispering in walls, lights turning on without power, and cribs rocking on their own. Neighbors confirm multiple disappearances, including, but not limited to, previous owners. Prospective buyers may experience sudden chills, bouts of nausea, or the sensation of being observed. Property sold as is. No refunds. Offer void if contract is signed after midnight.
Seems like it's the same house that our friend Mia was talking about last week. Wonder when the parents came by for their little bundle of joy. Now, this seems like a good time to open up the phone lines. Let's see what things are going bump in the night tonight. You're on the air with Silas Caudwell. Are you ringing or screaming?
Hi, Silas. Longtime viewer and listener. My name's Maggie. I work nights at Rosewood Retirement Home and have a question for the channel.
God bless you, Maggie. You must be used to long nights and restless residents. What's got you on the line tonight?
It's one of my patients. He's usually quiet, doesn't say much, but lately, every night around the same time, he stands at the window of his room, staring out like he's waiting for someone, and then he starts whispering.
Whispering what?
Names. My name. The other nurses. Sometimes names we don't recognize. And his reflection in the window, it doesn't always move the same way he does. Last night, I swear I saw the reflection smile before he did. And tonight, He told me it was time for bed. That he kept watch while I slept. Like he was the one taking care of me.
Well, darling, sounds like a case of role reversal. Let's hold that thought. I've got another call buzzing in that might shed some light on your midnight guardian. You're on with Silas. Who've I got?
Name's Gina. I used to be a doctor at St. Augustine's. Worked geriatrics for 20 years. What Mag is describing, it sounds like sundowners.
For the uninformed, why don't you give us the rundown?
Sundowning happens with dementia patients. When the sun sets, they change. Agitation, confusion, hallucinations. They'll say strange things and act different. Sometimes it's like they're not themselves.
But Gina, his window faces east. The sun doesn't set there, and he knows things about us. Things that he shouldn't.
Maggie, sweetheart, that's just sundowning. It doesn't matter which way the window faces. It's about the body's rhythm, not the view. And as for knowing things, patients can surprise you. They overhear conversations, pick up details. You'd be amazed what sticks.
No one told him I had a sister. He said her name, and that he said she'd be visiting me soon. She lives 3 states away.
Coincidence, Maggie. Dementia speak wanders. Sometimes it hits close to home. Our minds are tuned to notice those hits, not the dozen times they ramble nonsense.
Funny thing about coincidence, so often you remember what you'd rather forget.
But it's not just names. His reflection, that smile, explained that.
Well now, ladies, sounds like what we've got here is either medical or metaphysical. Either way, something is taking care of someone who shouldn't need taken care of.
My point exactly, Silas.
Now listen here, I've spent 20 years in geriatric care. I've seen it all. I even wrote a book on it. This is Sundowners.
We're not here to deny your truth, Gina. Just playing devil's advocate here.
Right. Maggie, I recommend you pick up my book, Tuck Them In, Tuck Them Away, A Guide to Sundown Serenity. I think it'll really help you.
Okay. Maybe. Maybe you're right. I've been on edge, working too many night shifts.
Exactly. Fatigue makes everything look sinister. Don't let them scare you. Trust the science. My science.
You're the professional. I'll chalk it up to exhaustion.
Well, that wrapped up neat, didn't it? Producers, if you're awake back there, do me a favor. Let's follow up with Maggie next episode. And maybe grab me a copy of Gina's book on the company card. On that note, thank you all for listening to us tonight. This is Silas Caudwell signing off. Good night, comrades.